All right. When we put them in the 8-frame hive, we put a super on top.
No.
No?
Nope. You only put them in the 8-frame hive until they cover all them frames.
So after they cover the 8 frames,
Yeah.
then we put a super on.
See, if you put them in the 8-frame hive right away, if you go back to that 5-frame, you reduce the entrance down to maintain heat. Now you got a bigger area they have to keep warm.
Okay.
So you have to maintain temperatures until they establish themselves.
All
These are
right.
packages you're putting in. Now, if you had a hive that was already booming and you split it, they're automatically going to have the heat there because you got a lot of numbers of bees.
Okay. So about how long before we would put a super on? We just have to keep a check on it. How often do we pull the frames out to check them?
You can check them as often as you want.
Okay.
But I'll show you how to look at that hive and tell. There's no need to get in there and start doing things. If you wear a veil, you're not going to see but 50%. It cuts your vision down. If you bump the queen, now you killed the hive. They have to make them a new queen. So they're not going to even go out and pull in a lot of honey. They'll just barely go out and do anything until they get a queen in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they're depressed or demoralized. And when they get demoralized, they're not going to work.
Their ruler is gone.
They have no hope of survival. That's what they do. They go out and they're serving their queen. They go out and they gather honey, and the more honey they gather, the more bees they can have, so that carries on the generations.
Okay.
People don't understand about demoralization of bees.
Mm-mm.
But if you demoralize a bee, they're not going to work. It's the same thing as if I told you to walk up to that corner church. It's about a half a mile. It ain't such a big deal. I mean, you wouldn't want to do it, but if I says walk up to Atlanta and pick up a package of bees and bring them back home, as soon as I tell you that, you already got the feeling that overcomes you. I ain't going to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
The bees are the same way. That's demoralization.
Okay.
Not many people talk about it, even in books, demoralization of bees.
Okay. After we do put a super on, they're in their 8-frame hive, put a super on, would we ever remove that first super? Or would we just let it stay there for, like overwintering their honey supply and everything? Or
Some people leave a super on, but you still have to go clear to the bottom board at least every 4 to 6 weeks. You need to go through that hive. Now, if you want to make splits and increase numbers, you need to go through that hive every 10 days.
Okay.
Because it's going to take 16 days for them to have a queen. And if they get crowded, or they can't produce, or they can't store any more honey, now they're going to start to produce swarm cells.
Okay.
It's just nature of reproducing.
So
Bees
when they
do
get
two
crowded,
things. They multiply and they store honey. When they can't meet those two things, they develop other swarm cells.
and they move out.
Well, they'll move out to a tree, or sometimes they'll hang in a tree for a while, but you use nature to your advantage. You know, 2 hives can grow into an unlimited amount. You're just limited by your equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Keep splitting, and keep splitting.
Okay. Okay, what I've read is inner covers have a notch cut in it for ventilation and to let the bees in and out.
It'll let a little bees in and out, but ventilation, the best thing is a hive top feeder where you got the distance of the width of the hive, and you got a screen across there. Now you've got a lot of ventilation. It's the same thing as a chimney effect. They can pull air in the bottom and exhaust it out the top. That little hole just allows a few bees to go in and out. You don't get very much circulation. If you put that on there, more than likely you get condensation under that board.
Okay.
Because as bees collect honey, they evaporate the moisture out of it to get it to a thicker consistency. That moisture has to go somewhere. If it don't go up, it's going to stay in the hive, and then you get mildew and mold and everything else. So you got to have a ventilation. A healthy hive has got a lot of holes in it.
Okay. Okay. Tell me about queen excluders. What are they? What they look like? What they're for? Okay.
All right, here's one style of queen excluder. These are for a 10-frame. Caught me a piece of wire there. Here's one that's all metal. Here's one that's a wire or a wood bound. But here's the thing about a queen excluder. People buy these things and they think it's going to keep the queen from laying brood in the honey. It's not true. You see the little narrow pieces here? The only way that the bees, the ones that's bringing the honey, get up, they have to force their way through here. And when they force their way through, at that very minute when you put this on, all the bees in your hive, the lives are shortened by 50%.
Wow.
Because when they force their way through here, they wear their wings out prematurely. If you look at a tree, there's no queen excluders in a tree. A queen is only going to go from the bottom board up about 15 to 18 inches. That's a normal queen. Now, if you have any more, a queen that's exceptional and she goes higher, it makes more sense. If you want to make honey, put an extra box on it. Designate that for brood. The queen is only going to go so high. Then you put your supers on. Because if you want to make honey and you're trying to use this, makes more sense. More bees makes more honey. So this is eliminating, it's constricting. This is what commercial people do. They put this on a single story and they take every drop of marketable honey from the hive. The bees have to have a certain amount of honey in that hive. And that's only my take on it now. I don't sell this stuff. This is stuff that I have accumulated from buying estates and stuff out. I'd never put one of those on. You put one of these on, the only thing that these are any good for is if you're shaking bees out, to make sure that you don't shake a queen into a package. And that's what we got here. We got packages, and when you get green health, you'll take out some queen excluders so to make sure that don't get the queen for you.
Okay.
All right. If you got frames, if you had a dead out, I like to bleach my frames. Here's some frames that's dark. They look dingy. What I do is I use this as a dipping tank, and I put water in here and 1/4 cup of bleach. And you throw the darkest frame in there, and it's going to come out nice and light. Once you let these sit in here about 10 to 15 minutes, then I take them, I throw them down here, and I'll turn the hose on and get the bleach off of them. But if you want to reuse old equipment, these little holes here, you want to put a nail through there because you might have wax moth eggs in there. And if you put that into a new package and you put it into your hive, you're just introducing problems. And that's a 1-minute tip from the Fat Bee Man.